Is in motion, it's very important that you remain seated with your hands and arms inside the truck. And doors are closed. Are you ready to go?
Yes, ma'am.
As we say in Harambe, Twende, let's go. And the way we greet each other here in Africa is Jambo. So Jambo, everyone.
Jambo!
Jambo. My name is Sue, and I'm going to be your safari guide today. You might want to check out that animal spotting guide that's up above you. It's going to help you to identify some of the animals that we're going to see. They're free roaming, and we never know where they're going to show up. So we have to keep a close lookout everywhere so we don't miss anything. We do want you to take all the photos and videos that you like, but you got to hang on to your cameras. I'm not allowed to stop and pick up anything that you might accidentally drop over the side of the truck. I will stop frequently so you can take pictures, so not to worry. If you have an action setting or a sports setting on your camera, you may want to change it now, because even if I stop, the animals might be moving, and there are some places on the reserve that I cannot stop. But I'll do my best to get you some good pictures.
Thank you.
Now, the Harambe Wildlife Reserve was established in 1971 to protect the local wildlife. Over the years, however, the wild animals have gotten very used to us humans, and they're not afraid. That makes for a great safari. Now we're entering the reserve at Little Ituri Forest. Many of the animals that live in the forest have natural colorings that just kind of blend into the landscape. Makes them a little bit more difficult for predators to see. Now these are greater kudu. They are the second tallest antelope here in Harambe, second only to the Patterson's eland. And on the other side, the small brown animal is a yellowback duiker. There are 17 to 20 species of duikers, and the yellowback is the largest. And coming toward us, anybody know what that is? It's kind of a strange looking animal. Looks like a horse in zebra pajamas. It's an okapi. And because of the stripes, you might think they're related to the zebra, but they're not. Do you know what they're related to? The giraffe. They're the only living relative of the giraffe, and they live in the densest forests in Africa. They weren't even discovered by the Western world until 1901. Now, watering holes are gathering places for many of the animals that live in the forest, but it's our only opportunity to see one of the more rarer species, the black rhino. They have a very thick hide. They can charge at about 35 miles an hour. There are fewer than 5,000 left in the whole wide world, and their only known predator is man. I don't see any right now. All of the dense vegetation that we see in the forest serves a dual purpose for many of the animals that live here. It's a great camouflage, but it's also a very necessary food source. Don't see any black rhinos. Sorry, guys. Oh, look up at the top of the hill on the left. There are some bongos. The bongos are very beautiful animals, but they are so rarely seen that they have the nickname ghosts of the forest. Now we're almost to the Safi River, and that's where we usually see Nile hippos. And I say usually because they walk along the river bottom and they stay underwater most of the time. That's how they keep those big bodies of theirs from overheating in the African sun. There's a couple right there. There'll be more on the other side, and I'll stop. Baby hippos weigh about 85 pounds when they're born, and as they mature, they can tip the scale at 5,000 pounds. Oh, look there behind the island. There is a bloat of hippos. Yeah, when you see a whole bunch of them all together, it's called a bloat. And there on the island are lots of pink-backed pelicans. They nest in those trees and live in colonies, and the males get their pink coloration during mating season. And hippos Hippos are herbivores. Who knows what a herbivore is?
Veggie eater?
Veggie eater, yep. They eat lots of plants. One hippo can eat up to 150 pounds of plant life. Oh, look here.
No.
There are 4 hippos out of the water. We almost never see that. How cool is that? That's a float on land. Now we have to go over this rickety old bridge, and we saw a float of hippos. Now we're going to see a float of Nile crocodiles. They are very large and they are very aggressive. And those jaws are so powerful they can crush bones. Look at this one closest to us. He's laying there with his mouth open. They're cold-blooded reptiles and they can't sweat, so that's how they release excess body heat. They just open their mouth and there it is. But they always look hungry to me, so I don't stick around here for too long. They are non-herbivores. They'll eat anything. Now we've left the forest and we're almost to the savannah, where there's an entirely different ecosystem and different animals than we saw in the forest. And speaking of different, check out this upside down looking tree. It's called a baobab tree, and it can survive the most severe drought because it stores thousands of gallons of water in that huge trunk, and it goes without leaves for about 9 months out of the year. And we're going to see a lot more of these baobab trees on our trip through Africa. And here we are on the savannah. And this is my favorite view of the whole reserve. It's part of the Serengeti grasslands, and it stretches for hundreds of miles across East Africa. It's also a superhighway for millions of migrating animals each year, and it's home to some of our favorites like the lions and the elephants and the giraffes. It's part of the wild Africa that we're all working very hard to conserve. If you look over on my side, we're going to see a Patterson's eland. The elands are the largest antelope in Africa. Mature males will weigh up to 2,000 pounds and stand 6 foot tall at the shoulder. The savanna landscape, as we see it, is pretty much created by all the animals that live here. They're like a construction crew. The elephants will bulldoze down the trees so they can eat the leaves and the roots, and that lets the grasses spread. The giraffes are the pruning shears. They eat the leaves off the underside of the trees, and that lets more light in. And as you can see, they do an excellent job because all the trees are very neatly trimmed at about 18 foot. The zebra and the large antelope, they mow down the tall grass that lets new shoots grow. Little nibblers like the gazelles and the warthogs, they keep everything trimmed up neat and tidy. In a balanced natural system, they've all got plenty to eat. These cone shapes of earth that you see all around the savanna are termite mounds. The sun bakes them so that they're hard as concrete. The elephants use the large tall ones as scratching posts. And once the elephants have done all the work and worn them down, the antelope use them for lookout posts. They stand on top of them and check all the tall grass to make sure there aren't any lions or cheetahs laying there waiting to have them for dinner. And the lions and the cheetahs, they love to have those little antelope for dinner. Here are some white-bearded wildebeest, also known as gnus, G-N-U. And that's an African word that mimics the grunting sounds that they make. They have one of the largest migrations across Africa, and when they're migrating and they have to cross rivers, the crocodiles lay in wait for them, and only the fittest survive. The rest of them become crocodile breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And way up on top of the hill, attached to those great big horns, are some Ankole cattle. They're a domesticated type of cattle, also known as Watusi cattle, named after the tribe that domesticated them. They're the only domestic animal on the reserve, and they've lived with the wild animals for centuries, and they get along just fine. And here we're going to see a tower of giraffes. Giraffes will stand 18 to 20 feet tall at maturity, and even the babies start out at up to 6 foot tall. They spend 16 to 20 hours a day eating, so they don't have a whole lot of time to do much else except look for another treat. And if you look at the lighter colored giraffe, that's a reticulated giraffe. Gets its name from the Latin word reticulata, which means net-like. And look at the pattern on her coat. There are no jagged edges, and it only goes to her knees. Now, as we pass by this one, this is a Maasai giraffe, and look at the pattern on her coat. There are no precise edges. It's all lacy or messy, and it goes all the way to her feet. So you got to see both species there, and look at that long tongue. And it's black. Does anybody know why?
Because of what they eat?
No, actually, they have their tongue out so much that it keeps them from getting sunburned. How about that? So we got to see a tower of giraffes, a blow to hippos, a flow to crocodiles, a tower of giraffes. How lucky we are. And we're going to be heading to elephant country. One of the biggest threats to elephants are humans. They kill the elephants for their ivory tusks, which are very valuable on the black market, and then encroach on their land. And elephants need a lot of land to survive. Just beyond these rocks is Monkey Point. And we call it Monkey Point because there's a troop of mandrills that have taken up residence here. And mandrills are the largest African monkeys. Mature males weigh up to 100 pounds, and they've got vibrant red and blue markings on their face. Makes them the most colorful monkeys in the world, and I don't see any right now. But there's a big bull elephant on the other side. Bull elephants are loners. Reason being, they're very aggressive. And so consequently, they get kicked out of the herd by their mother at a very early age. So young boy elephants don't get timeouts. When they get aggressive, they get kicked out. Well, it looks like our road's been closed, and that's probably a good thing. It's probably because of that big bull elephant. We don't want to tangle with him. So we'll take the detour. And I've been this way a time or two, so I'm sure it's going to be open. And we have to go over this rickety old bridge, and this one looks longer and in worse shape than the last one. So hopefully the rope that's holding it together keeps it together till we get to the other side. It always makes me a little nervous. It's kind of creepy and squeaky. And I'm always glad when I get all the truck tires on this side of the bridge. And there's the front ones, and the back ones, and we made it. Yeah, that's because you guys have a very experienced, mature woman driver. Yes. And here we are at the red clay pit, and I see lots of tusk marks and footprints. The elephants have obviously already been here, and they come to eat the red clay. I can't imagine that red clay would taste very good. But I know the elephants eat it because it provides them with a lot of essential minerals that they don't get from their vegetarian diet. And it's the female elephants and their calves that stay together in the herds. The mothers keep the babies with them for 13 to 15 years and teach them everything they need to know about where to find food and water, and also how to get along with all the other elephants. It's very important because they're one big family. Ooh, we got a little bit of local music too. That's pretty cool. I'll stop up here. Looks like the March of the Elephants. There's a couple babies there. They're like 4 and 5 years old. Not quite 4, not quite 5. When you see them flopping their ears back and forth, they're opening up blood vessels to the air, and that helps keep them cool. There's a flamboyance of flamingos. These are greater flamingos, the lightest pink of the flamingo species, and the chicks when they hatch are gray in color. The adults get their bright pink color from their steady diet of brine shrimp and other little sea creatures that contain a lot of keratin. It takes them 1 to 2 years to turn pink. Looks like we're going to see a couple zebras. These are Grant zebras. Does anybody know if zebras have black skin with white stripes or white skin with black stripes?
Black skin.
Black skin with white stripes. And you know how to tell? Because their nose is bare skin. And it's black. So they have black skin with white stripes. And no two zebras have the same stripe pattern. That's how they're identified. It's kind of like our fingerprints, only they have stripe prints. They look very docile, but they're not. If a lion would happen to grab them, they could kick them with their back feet, and their back feet are so powerful, they break the lion's jaw, and that's their escape. Now if you look up to the left in the middle of the hill, I see a couple cheetahs up there. Cheetahs are the fastest land mammals in the world. They can travel at speeds of 60 to 70 miles an hour, but only for short periods of time because their bodies are small and they tend to overheat very quickly. And cheetahs are primarily daytime hunters. They depend on sight, not smell, to locate their prey. They're the only one of the large cats that do hunt during the day, as a rule. And they're also the only large cats that purr. And if you happen to see a whole bunch of cheetahs all together, it's called a coalition. The rock formation that we see in front of us is a kopje. And this is where the lions like to hang out for a couple of reasons. It's way up high, they can lay up there and bask in the sun, but more than that, they can overlook the savannah to see what they want to have for lunch and dinner. Kind of like a restaurant menu for lions. They're very inactive, 18 to 20 hours a day. They just lay around and do nothing. The male lion will roar in the morning and roar in the evening. And that's just a territorial warning for all the other males that might be in the area. It's the females that do the majority of the hunting. They'll gather together at night in prides and they hunt cooperatively. Over to the right, the pretty little brown animals are bontabucks. They're naturally extinct, but you will find them on wildlife reserves like Harambe doing very well. And there are a couple of white rhinos. White rhinos are much larger than the black rhino that we didn't see in the forest. That's where they live. And the females of this species are larger than the males. And even though great effort is gone into protecting the white rhinos from poachers, they are still hunted to this day. Even in the biggest and best known reserves in Africa, targeted for their horn, they're once again threatened. Unfortunately, the poachers are very well funded and they've got some very sophisticated means of hunting the white rhinos. As we come around this corner, I see lots of warthog burrows. I don't see any warthogs at the moment. Warthogs are the largest burrowing mammals in Africa. And both male and female have razor-sharp tusks. And that's what they use to defend themselves. Oh, there's one right there. That's what they use to defend themselves and help dig the burrows. But if they can find a burrow that another animal has dug, they just take it over. They're quite the squatters. And if you see a whole bunch of them, it's called a sounder. And here's a cluster of ostrich eggs. These are the largest bird eggs laid in the animal kingdom. Each one can weigh as much as 3 pounds, yeah. I'll stop briefly here so you can get white rhinos and zebras and bontabucks. Do you see an ostrich? Oh yeah, here's an ostrich up here. The ostriches take turns taking care of the eggs, and I think they forget whose turn it is. They just are not the brightest birds on the planet. Their brain is only as big as their eye. So every day is a new day for an ostrich. Now we're heading into a new area that we recently acquired from a local farmer so that we can reintroduce even more animals into the local ecosystem. Oh, and up ahead on the right I see some addax, A-D-D-A-X. They are critically endangered desert antelope, and aren't they beautiful? Look at those horns. Technically called screw-horned antelope. They have about a 20-year life expectancy, and they can go almost their whole life without drinking any water. They get all of the liquids that their bodies require from the food that they eat. And here's a mustering of yellow-billed storks. They feed on fish and frogs and snakes. So if we don't see any snakes, we thank our friends, the yellow-billed storks. And I thank them on a daily basis. I've never seen any snakes, and I don't want to. Many of the local residents here in Africa depend on wild animals for food. So the goal of conservation is to balance the needs of humans and wild animals. That way, in the end, everybody wins. Just remember, no matter where you live, you too can conserve natural habitats and wild creatures. There are many organizations out there that are more than happy to help you do whatever it is you'd like to do, no matter how big or small the task. All you need to do is get in touch. If you want to see even more animals, just head over to the Pangani Forest Exploration Trail. It's the home of the lowland gorillas, and there's some babies over there too. A couple silverbacks, and there's black and white colobus monkeys, meerkats, naked mole rats, all kinds of beautiful birds and fish, and an underwater hippo pool. You can see what those hippos are doing under the water. Well, did y'all have a good safari?
Absolutely.
All right, that's awesome. I want to say asante sana. That means thank you in Swahili. Thank you, Ben, for going with me. You have been wonderful guests. And the way we say farewell here in Africa, it actually means go well, is kwaherini. So kwaherini, everyone.
Kwaherini.
Kwaherini. Hope you have a wonderful day here at the Animal Kingdom. And I want to thank you again for choosing to travel with us. When we pull up to the dock, make sure you watch your fingers on the right as our warden opens up the doors. Watch your step as you exit. It's a step down, and I hope you all have a Kuna Matata day. No hurries and no worries.